Coordination, the linking system, part 3. In this video, we are going to study about the classification of nervous system and the structure and functions of brain and spinal cord. So let's get started. Students, look at this chart. Our nervous system is broadly divided into two main parts, that is central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. As the name is saying, central nervous system is located centrally in our body and it has a central role in control and coordination of our body. So what does this central nervous system include? It includes brain and spinal cord. So central nervous system includes brain and spinal cord. They are the central controlling structures. Now the other part is peripheral nervous system. It includes all the nerves that are coming from brain and spinal cord going to different parts of our body. So all the nerves that are coming from brain, spinal cord going to all other parts of our body that constitute peripheral nervous system. And this peripheral nervous system is again divided into two main parts, that is somatic nervous system and autonomous nervous system. Autonomous, as the name is saying, it is involuntary in function. For instance, activities such as heartbeat, respiration, blood pressure, these are not in our conscious control. They go according to the body's will. Such actions are under the control of autonomous nervous system. Whereas somatic nervous system is voluntary. For instance, actions such as walking, talking, reading, these are all under the control of our conscious will. If we want to talk, we can talk. If we want to write, we can write. So such actions are under the control of somatic nervous system. Got it? So somatic nervous system is voluntary actions. Autonomous nervous system is involuntary actions. Now autonomous nervous system is again divided into sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Both these systems, sympathetic and parasympathetic, control involuntary actions but at different situations. Those will be learnt when I speak about autonomous nervous system later. Got it? So this is the classification of nervous system. It has two main divisions, central, peripheral. Central is divided into brain and spinal cord. Peripheral is divided into somatic, autonomous. Autonomous again into sympathetic and parasympathetic. So for this video we take up central nervous system. Under central nervous system we have two main parts, that is brain and spinal cord. So let's start with the brain. The picture of brain given in the textbook is not sufficient to understand the structure and functions of brain. So I have collected additional pictures from other sources to make our understanding complete and clear. 7 pictures are collected from outside sources. This is the first picture. This is the brain as seen from the top. This view exposes only one part of the brain, that is cerebrum. So what all you are seeing here, this whole thing is called as cerebrum. See, at the middle there is a cleavage. Cleavage means division. This cleavage divides the cerebrum into two parts called cerebral hemispheres. So there are two cerebral hemispheres, left cerebral hemisphere and this is a right cerebral hemisphere. Whole structure is cerebrum. Cerebrum is divided into two parts and they are called as cerebral hemispheres. This is from top view. Now this is brain as seen from side. So this is the side view of the brain. This view exposes 4 lobes of brain. They are temporal lobe, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe. So purple region is temporal lobe, this yellow region is frontal, green is parietal and brown is occipital. So we can see the 4 lobes of brain from side view. Now look at this. This is brain cut at the middle section. This view exposes 3 divisions of the brain. Forebrain. So this whole pink region is forebrain. This is top layer and this is midbrain. at middle region, or we can say middle layer. So this stalk like region is the midbrain. Then at the bottom we have hindbrain. So at the top layer we have forebrain, at the middle layer we have midbrain, and at the bottom layer we have hindbrain. Now this forebrain has three important parts. They are cerebrum. Cerebrum is this folded region. This whole folded region is cerebrum. Then olfactory lobes. Olfactory lobes are concerned with olfaction, that is sense of smell. So we have olfactory lobes here at this region. We cannot see them in this picture, but they are actually embedded in the cerebrum of this zone. Okay, so olfactory lobes, and the third part is diencephalon. This diencephalon is rhomboidal in shape. So this red-green structure, what you are seeing is a diencephalon. This diencephalon is rhomboidal in shape. It is divided into two parts again. The first part is thalamus. So this red part is thalamus, and the other one is hypothalamus. This green part is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus regulates the function of pituitary gland. You know, pituitary gland is the master gland because it controls many of the endocrine glands. So this is the master gland, and master of master gland is hypothalamus because it regulates the function of pituitary gland. So where is pituitary gland? Pituitary gland is hanging out from hypothalamus. So forebrain has three main parts: cerebrum, olfactory lobes, and diencephalon. Diencephalon has two parts called thalamus and hypothalamus. Now coming to midbrain, this view exposes midbrain. This M represents midbrain. Midbrain is a small stalked part which runs between pons and cerebellum. Pons veroli. So this P is called as pons veroli and C is called as cerebellum. In between these two parts, the midbrain runs as a stalked part. Okay, so this is about midbrain. Now where is hindbrain? We can see hindbrain in this view clearly. This hindbrain has three main parts. They are pons veroli. So this is pons veroli. Next cerebellum. This is cerebellum, and medulla oblongata. This bulb like structure over here is medulla oblongata. This medulla oblongata moves down as a small stalk and joins with spinal cord. Got it? This is about the parts of brain. Now our brain with all its parts is actually enclosed within a hard bony box called as cranium. So this is called as cranium. Over here you can see this is brain and this is cranium. In between brain and cranium we have three protective layers called meninges. So our brain is covered by three protective layers called meninges. The first one that is attached to brain is pia mater. Next followed by arachnoid matter, followed by dura mater. So these three are the protective layers and they're together called as meninges. Over meninges we have a hard bony structure called as skull or cranium. So this much protection is given to our brain because our brain is very soft and sensitive structure which is made up of nervous tissue. Also, brain is an important structure that controls and coordinates all the parts of our body. So it needs that much protection. Now with this we are in a position to understand what is given in our textbook. Let us see what is given in the textbook. So brain. Brain is present in hard bony box called cranium. We know that it is covered by three layers called meninges, and we know the names also. They are pia mater, arachnoid matter and dura mater. The meninges are continuous and cover the spinal cord as well. So not only brain, the meninges actually cover our spinal cord too. So not only brain, this meninges they continue over the spinal cord. That is what is told here. Then space between inner layers is filled with a fluid called cerebrospinal fluid. Look at this picture. This is brain tissue which is covered with pia matter, followed by arachnoid matter and then dura matter. In between pia matter, orange one, and arachnoid matter, blue one, there is a fluid called cerebrospinal fluid. CSF means cerebrospinal fluid. This fluid serves as a shock absorbing medium and protects the brain from shocks and jerks. What is a shock and when do we receive it? Suppose a fast moving motorcycle hits a divider and falls down, then the driver is also thrown aside with high speed and falls down. During this time, his brain receives a jerk and gets displaced from its original position. The role of this fluid is to help the brain tissue to gradually slide over this fluid and come back to its original position. Thus, the person recovers from the shock. Got it? So, I think you have understood what is shock and how CSF protects us from shock, right? Now, brain is composed of grey matter and white matter. What does it mean? When you cut open brain vertically, you find something like this. Here you find two distinct regions, white color region and something brown, right? So at the center, brain is white in color, and at the periphery, it is brown shown in this picture, but actually it is grey. Okay, assume that this is grey in color. So we have two distinct regions in brain, white region and grey region. So white region is called as white matter and grey region is called as grey matter. So brain is composed of grey matter at the periphery and white matter at the center. But what exactly are these matters? Actually, the cell bodies along with blood capillaries, they are present at the periphery. Okay, so grey matter is nothing but the cell bodies of neurons and blood capillaries, whereas the white matter is composed of axons. So cell bodies are present at the periphery, whereas the axons are present at the center. Why are these cell bodies look grey? Because the cell bodies, they have specialized granules called Nissl granules. When I spoke about nerve cell structure, I told that cell bodies of neurons contain special granules called Nissl granules, and they are the reason why the cell bodies look grey in color. That is the reason the periphery of the brain is grey in color. Understood? So neurons with cell bodies and some capillaries form grey matter, whereas axons myelinated or covered by fatty sheaths form white matter. So axons, they are covered by myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is what? It is just fatty material, and we know that fat is white in color. That is the reason why white matter looks white. Understood? So brain is composed of grey matter and white matter. Grey matter is grey in color because of cell bodies, whereas white matter is white in color because of the myelinated sheaths of axon. Got it? Now, coming to major divisions of brain, we have three major divisions. They are forebrain, midbrain, hindbrain. Forebrain is the top layer, midbrain is the middle layer, and hindbrain is the bottom layer. Forebrain has three important parts. We have already discussed about them. They are olfactory lobe, cerebrum, diencephalon. Olfactory lobes are somewhere here. Cerebrum is this folded region, and diencephalon is this rhomboidal zone. Next, midbrain, it has optic lobes. You have not seen them, but when brain is cut horizontally, these optic lobes, they are visible at the level of midbrain. Next, hindbrain, it consists of cerebellum and medulla oblongata. In this picture, medulla oblongata is here and cerebellum is here. In this picture, medulla oblongata is this region and this is this cerebellum. But actually, hindbrain has three important parts: pons, varoli. So it is here, cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Here, pons, varoli is this. But in the textbook, only in the picture the pons varolii is shown, but in the textbook matter pons varolii is not discussed. Okay, so according to textbook, hindbrain consists of cerebellum and medulla oblongata. Got it? So these are the major divisions of brain. Now let us see the functions of various parts of the brain one after the other. The first one is forebrain. Forebrain has three parts: olfactory lobes, cerebrum and diencephalon. So let us see what are olfactory lobes, what are the functions of olfactory lobes first. Olfactory lobes are club shaped. You can find them here. These are the club shaped structures. They are widely spread. They are widely spread bodies and visible from the ventral side. So this is the ventral side, front side of the brain, and you can see olfactory lobes at the ventral side as club shaped structures. Got it? The function of these olfactory lobes are sense of smell. It means when different odors enter our nose, the odor information is sent to this region, to this olfactory region. When the information reaches here, we would perceive what odor it is, whether it is a rose, jasmine, etc. Until and unless the information reaches this region, we cannot perceive the smell of different substances. Now coming to cerebrum, it consists of two lobes called cerebral hemispheres. So this is cerebrum, it has a middle cleavage, and this cleavage divides cerebrum into two hemispheres. This is left cerebral hemisphere and this is right cerebral hemisphere. And whole of this cerebrum has many folds which appears as elevations and depressions. So we find, due to foldings, we find elevations and depressions. Depressions are these gaps. So elevations are called as gyri, whereas the depressions, the gaps, are called as sulci. Sulcus is singular, whereas sulci is plural. Sulci at some places are very prominent and divides hemispheres into lobes. See here, this is one hemisphere where certain sulci, certain gaps are very prominent, and due to these gaps the whole hemisphere is divided into four lobes. Because of this sulci we have a frontal lobe and parietal lobe. Because of this sulci, this gap, we have a parietal lobe and occipital lobe. Because of this sulci, we have temporal lobe. So sulci at some places are very deep, such that the hemisphere is again divided into lobes: frontal, parietal, occipital and temporal. So this is about cerebrum. What are its functions now? It is concerned with our mental abilities, thinking, memory, reasoning, perception, emotions and speech, interpretation of sensations, and response to cold, heat, pain and pressure. Interpretation of sensations. What does it mean? It means, I explain it with an example. Suppose if you touch an ice cream cup, then you interpret that it is cold. If you touch a hot cup of coffee, then you say that it is very hot. These are your two interpretations. Also, you interpret that second object is hotter than the first one, right? So that is what is interpretation of sensations. Now, response to cold, heat, pain and pressure. What does this mean? It is the center for emotions like anger, center for water balance, blood pressure, body temperature, sleep and hunger. How? Regarding water balance, when our body is low in water, it creates thirst. When body is high in water, we feel like pissing. This is due to our diencephalon. Now how about BP? When we exercise or do more physical activity, we work more, so BP increases to support that activity, to send more oxygen to the parts involved in the activity. When we take rest, BP decreases. This regulations as per work is maintained by our diencephalon. Next, body temperature. When outside temperature is high, body sweats to prevent excessive heating of body, that is rise of body temperature. When the outside temperature is low, we shiver. Why we shiver? We shiver to raise the body temperature. It is the work of this diencephalon. Got it? Next, it is the reflex center for muscular activities. The word reflex suggests involuntary muscular movements. So it coordinates muscular movements, involuntary muscular movements. Then it is a relay center for sensory impulses like pain, temperature and hunger. It means our diencephalon receives the sensory information of pain, temperature and hunger and sends that information to cerebrum for interpretation. And finally, its hypothalamus controls pituitary gland, the master gland of endocrine system. So, I already discussed this. Hypothalamus is the master of master gland. Hypothalamus controls pituitary gland. And where is pituitary gland? It is over here. Got it? So, this is about diencephalon. With this, we have finished forebrain. Next, coming to midbrain. Midbrain is a small, thick, stalked portion connecting forebrain and hindbrain. So this is forebrain, this is hindbrain, and there is a connecting stalk-like structure called midbrain. So this M represents midbrain. Now what are its functions? It relays motor impulses from cerebral cortex to spinal cord. Cerebral cortex is cerebrum, just cerebrum. Remember that cerebral cortex is cerebrum. Okay, so it relays. What is the meaning of relaying? Relaying is just sending. So what all the motor information coming from cerebrum, it sends that to spinal cord. Got it? Next, it relays sensory impulses from spinal cord to thalamus. So from the spinal cord, what all the sensory information that is coming, it comes to midbrain, and midbrain sends it to thalamus of diencephalon. Got it? So that is what is given here. Then it reflects sight and hearing functions. What does it mean? I have already told you that the word reflex means involuntary function. So it coordinates involuntary responses of sight and hearing. For instance, if all of a sudden bright light falls on our eyes, we close our eyes immediately. If all of a sudden loud sound reaches our ears, we close them with our hands immediately. This type of reflex actions are coordinated by our midbrain. Got it? Now let us see hindbrain. Hindbrain consists of cerebellum and medulla oblongata. See, this is cerebellum and this is medulla oblongata. So, cerebellum is located above medulla oblongata and below cerebrum. So, this is cerebrum, this is cerebellum. Cerebellum is below cerebrum and it is above medulla oblongata. This is medulla oblongata. So, cerebellum is in between cerebrum and medulla oblongata. And this cerebellum consists of two large lobes called cerebral hemispheres. Like cerebrum, even cerebellum is also divided into two halves. So you can see that here. This is the back of our brain. This is cerebral hemispheres and these are cerebellar hemispheres. This is cerebellum, which is divided into two hemispheres. Got it? So this is side view where we can see only one half, and this is back view, back of the head. So we can see two hemispheres here, cerebellar hemispheres. These are cerebral hemispheres. Okay. Now coming to the functions of cerebellum, it is involved in maintaining posture, equilibrium and muscle tone. What are these terms? The meaning of these terms becomes clear when I compare a normal person with a drunkard. A normal person can have a proper posture when he is at rest and equilibrium when he is walking. If somebody tries to push him down, he resists that attempt because his muscles have enough tone to resist that pressure. A drunkard cannot do this. When he is at rest, his body may droop down or sides. He cannot keep his body erect. But while walking, also he cannot maintain his balance. He makes random movements, forward, backward, sidewards, and then topples down. If somebody pushes him or tries to push him down, he yields because his muscles cannot resist that pressure. Even a small child can kick him and throw him out. Now, I hope you understood what is the meaning of these terms, posture, equilibrium and muscle tone. This is all the work of our cerebellum. Next, it coordinates voluntary movements triggered by cerebrum. Triggered by cerebrum here means the commands regarding voluntary movements, they begin in cerebrum and pass through cerebellum. That is the meaning. Next, coming to medulla oblongata, it is almost triangular and extends between pons to spinal cord. So, it is between pons and spinal cord. This region is medulla oblongata. It is triangular. Of course, you cannot see a triangular shape here, but it is roughly triangular in shape and it is between pons and spinal cord. It starts at pons and ends at the beginning of spinal cord. Now, the functions. It is the center for cardiac, respiratory and vasomotor activities. That is, it coordinates heartbeat, respiration and changes in the diameter of blood vessels depending upon body activity. If body requires more blood, then the diameter of the blood vessels increases. When it requires less blood, they contract and they are under the control of medulla oblongata. If injury occurs to medulla oblongata, heartbeat and respiration stops and the person dies. Got it? Next, it coordinates reflexes like swallowing, coughing, sneezing and vomiting. Reflexes means involuntary. So swallowing, coughing, sneezing, vomiting, these are all involuntary actions and these are all under the control of medulla oblongata. So with this we have finished the structure and functions of brain. Now coming to spinal cord. In the textbook, this is given as spinal cord. This is front view and this is side view. But this is not a spinal cord actually. This is a vertebral column which is made up of bones. And within this vertebral column our spinal cord lies. This is the section. This is a part of vertebral column. You can see here this is made up of bones and inside these bones there is a canal. You can see here this is a canal through which our spinal cord runs. So this is our spinal cord actually. This is almost cylindrical, right? Now see the points. Spinal cord extends from back of the hindbrain to the back of stomach. So from hindbrain it runs back of the stomach. We can call that back of the stomach region as lumbar region. So it runs from hindbrain until the back of stomach through a canal, neural canal of vertebral column. So vertebral column has a canal called neural canal and through this canal our spinal cord runs. It runs from hindbrain until the back of the stomach, that is lumbar region. It is cylindrical as you can see here, and unlike brain, white matter is at the periphery. This is white matter. This is the cross section of spinal cord. So spinal cord when cut, when taken cross sectionally, it appears like this, and you can see here, clearly see here, this is the gray matter. Gray matter is at the center and white matter is at the periphery. But in brain you have seen that gray matter is at periphery and white matter is at the center, but it is reverse here. Got it? So unlike brain, white matter is towards periphery, gray matter towards center. So white matter is outside here. White matter is what? Axons, right? So these axons, these myelinated axons, they come out as spinal nerves on either side. It is shown only on one side. The nerve is shown only on one side, but actually nerves come on both the sides. You can see here. See, number of hair-like structures, they are coming out of vertebral column. Actually, they are coming from spinal cord, which is present inside the vertebral column. Got it? And nerves come out from both the sides. What are those nerves? Nerves are nothing but the myelinated axons that are present at the periphery. They bundle up and they come out as spinal nerves. Actually, we have 31 pairs of spinal nerves coming out and going to all parts of the body. Now similar to brain, our spinal cord is also protected by 3 protective layers called meninges, followed by bony covering called vertebral column. So like brain, our spinal cord is also highly protected. Now what are the functions of spinal cord? Spinal cord receives sensory information from different parts of the body through sensory nerves and sends it to brain. From brain, it collects the motor information and sends it to different parts via motor nerves. So it is like a relay center. It sends information to brain and collects commands and send it to body parts. Not only this, spinal cord is also involved in reflex arc. We have already studied about reflex arc. In reflex arc, the sensory information is not sent to brain. The spinal cord itself analyzes the sensory information and sends commands to the respective organs. This is what is reflex arc, that is sudden involuntary actions which occur inside spinal cord is what is called as reflex arcs, right? So spinal cord is involved in reflex actions or reflex arc. With this we have finished spinal cord also. Now let us see Leonardo da Vinci's observation on spinal cord. He observed in a frog the ability to respond to stimulus even when its brain was removed. From this he concluded that spinal cord is also an independent control center but not a trunk road to simply carry instructions from brain. Though the brain was removed, the frog is able to respond to stimulus. How is it possible? This is because its spinal cord is intact. So it is the spinal cord that is giving response to the stimulus. Got it? So from this experiment, he has concluded that spinal cord has its own ability to respond to certain stimuluses. That is what we have seen in reflex arc also. Now in textbook, 2 questions are given under this. Let us answer them. Question number 1 is, according to you, what would be the function of spinal cord? So you know what is the function. It receives information from sensory nerves and send them to brain. And from brain it takes motor information and send it to various parts of the body through motor nerves. Right? After this, next function is reflex arc. It can do its own functions without the involvement of brain. That is the second function, right? So this is first question. Next, second question is, are all functions of our body under direct control of brain and spinal cord? Why do you think so? No, they are not under the direct control. Not all the functions are under the direct control of brain and spinal cord. Some are under the control of peripheral nervous system also. So what is peripheral nervous system? What is its role? We are going to see in our next video. Until then, bye. Thank you.